So actually, ordinary consciousness is a much more profound state of trance than the hypnotic state. And yes, we do need to wake up from it.
In fact, there has been a suggestion that I find very intriguing. Charles Muzes presented a paper to the Anthropological Society saying that really we are hypnotized almost from birth by our culture, by our parents. That's how we learn language. That's how we become socialized, is in effect through hypnosis.
Yes. You know, the strange thing is that the Eastern psychologies, Buddhism or Hinduism particularly, have the idea that we live in a state of illusion. They call it samsara or maya. And they don't really mean that the world is illusory, but that we have such distorted perceptions of it that we live in an illusion or a dream of our own creating. Now, the funny thing is that while we don't have this idea in Western psychology, we actually know more about the nuts and bolts of living in illusion than the Easterners do. All our research about the nature of the unconscious, about the way perception is a relatively arbitrary construction, works out the mechanisms of Maya or samsara, tells us exactly how we live in a dream. I've tried to combine some of these ideas in my Waking Up book because I think we desperately need to know that the state of consciousness we ordinarily walk around in is not some simple, natural, sane state. It's a very arbitrary, very biased, very slanted construction, which is marvelous for some things, but quite terrible for other things. And until you question your ordinary consciousness and realize there are other potentials that you're distorting in your ordinary state, until you question it, there's nothing you can do about it.
Can you give me an example of, for example, for people who are viewing right now in a presumably ordinary state of consciousness, TV watching, what might be some of the inherent dangers there?
Well, we'll skip the question of whether TV consciousness is an ordinary state of consciousness or not.
It's common, let's put it that way.
It's common, yes, it's certainly common. Let's take an interesting example. We all believe that we have will, that we can carry out our decisions. Well, that's true occasionally, but how many times did each of us have some very important emotional revelation or insight about the way we were living our life and decide deeply in our heart of hearts that we were going to change? And one day later, if that long, we forgot about it? Why can't we even remember our emotional knowledge, our emotional insights, much less have the will to carry it out? That's the kind of question people have to ask themselves. And it's the kind of ability we can develop if we work at it. But ordinary life, ordinary education will not help us do that.